Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast for another off-season show. We've got Big E, we've got AJ, we've got Rudo coming to you live on a Tuesday, and it's not quite mid-July. I guess it's still early July. Not a whole lot of news today to really talk about around the league. The new CBA did officially get ratified today. We all knew this was coming, but it is now official that there will be a CBA through 2030. If you want to learn more about our thoughts on some of the new rules and stuff, we did a show about a week ago or so that talks about that. So you can go look up that stuff. Other interesting things, Gabe Landeskog did get nominated for an ESPY for Best Comeback Athlete. Surely that's like an easy slam dunk. He's winning that, right?
Who are the other nominees?
Do a thing.
I don't know. Let me go look. I'll go look.
All right, while he's looking that up, there was a 50 best sandwich ranking today. All I'm saying is I want to fight whoever made that list. Shawarma at number
sandwiches?
one.
That's
Shawarma at number one.
What is it? Shawarma, you mean like the chicken, or the store? Is there a store called shawarma? Or you mean shawarma like the meat, like the?
They rated shawarma as the best sandwich.
Yeah, they rated it as the number one, and all it says is shawarma. While there's a bunch of others that have like specific, like lobster roll collectively is at 8, but the main style lobster roll is at 13. But shawarma, just shawarma, is just number one. There's 4 kinds of banh mi on this list, which is great. Banh mi is delicious, but unbelievable. Anyway,
I mean,
you have that list?
A-Wolf is asking. No, but hold on. A-Wolf's asking if I am. It's like shaved chicken, right? Shawarma?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, like Greek chicken or something? Or
Sure.
Yeah.
For the record, Landeskog going up against Lindsey Vonn, Mallory Swanson, and Sunisa Lee as the comeback athlete of the year.
Lindsey Vonn, she just came out of retirement.
Yeah.
That was her comeback.
No
she just decided to stop chilling and start racing again.
Yep.
No brainer.
Anyway.
92, no brainer.
I'm saving this best sandwich list for a July-August show, and we're going to rank sandwiches.
I'm a simple sandwich guy, though. I'm going to rank like grilled cheese. Is that a sandwich?
It's definitely a sandwich, but it's not on here, man. I looked. I was like, all right, where's grilled cheese? Universal favorite. Where is it? You're trying to tell me that grilled cheese is not in the top 50 sandwiches of all time in the world?
No.
Okay. We can move into our actual topic of the day, which is the 5 best and 5 worst off seasons so far. I will throw that caveat in there of off season far from done. More stuff is coming down the pipeline for some of these teams, but where we're at today, who has had the best and worst off seasons and why? How? We all have our list of 5 on each side. Which side do you guys want to start on? You want to start on the bad or the good?
Good. Let's give people flowers and then crush them.
All right. Good news first. Top 5. Do you guys have full lists? Are you guys ready to rock, or are we just winging this?
I've got 5.
A list.
All right. I got a list too. Who we have at our 5s?
Me personally, I've got Tampa Bay.
Okay.
I really like the understated. I really like the cheap. Gord, Holmberg, Peltier for super cheap. Losing Perbix sucks, but they weren't playing him very much, so they'll be fine. And I just thought more than anything, I had a really hard time finding teams with off seasons I liked. But Gord, Holmberg, and Peltier, for as cheap as they did, I thought that was really good. I thought that's a really solid offseason for them.
I have no qualms.
I went Utah at 5. Even though I don't like them, but I got them in there just because of Peterka.
I have Utah 4.
Oh, hey.
I had them at 3.
Who do you have at 5, Rudo?
I had the Rangers at 5.
No, get out of here.
Look, they get out of Chris Kreider's deal. I know they lose Miller, but they win the Gavrikov sweepstakes, which made that a little bit easier for them. They gained some decent draft capital in that they can use to flip for stuff too. Really didn't hate it. They didn't make any mistakes on July 1st either, I don't think. They get Willie Cooley's deal done at a pretty darn reasonable price for a bridge deal as well. I know that's internal work, but still, again, like AJ, I had a hard time finding 5 teams that I really liked their offseason, and I didn't mind the Rangers. So I'm okay. I'm okay with them at 5. I'm happy to put Tampa Bay here too, though. They were one on my short list of teams that could have made it.
Honestly, your logic on the Rangers is fine. So Gavrikov is a really good defender who will help them and will be an upgrade from Keandre Miller. So I don't really have much of an argument here.
Fine, I'll give it to you. I'm a former Ranger.
I was going to say, the Rangers alone can't fight us on this.
Nope.
All right. So
That's
Rangers
fine.
at 5. Maybe.
Sure.
I'm good with it. Maybe Tampa is an honorable mention. Sounds like I had a 3. E had Utah at 5. AJ had Utah at 4. So sounds like a pretty easy Utah at 4.
I'm good with them at 4.
What'd you have at 4?
Peterka. I had Carolina.
I have them higher.
I do too.
Okay.
I have Carolina. I have Carolina at 3. So
I had them at 4. So that's because of they got Ehlers, and again, we'll get into them, but
well, we can place them in a second here, but we're essentially going down the list of here's the teams that won the offseason sweepstakes, right? Rangers got Gavrikov, Mammoth got Peterka, Carolina got Ehlers. They also got Miller.
Yes. Yeah.
We're talking about a lot of the teams that hit the big names, whether that be via trade or free agency, as the ones that right now we feel like came out on top.
But and then I don't have him in now. Now they would be outside my top 5, but because of what you just said, I have to give it to them, even though they're not everybody's favorite. I had Vegas in there just because they landed Marner. You know what I mean? So, and again, I'm not a Marner fan. You guys know that. So, but it is the biggest fish. When you go get the biggest fish, you have to get a prize. So we'll leave him on the outside, but I'm just trying to tell you which one of mine is going to fall off.
I flirted with Vegas in the list, and I kept them out purely out of spite.
Right. I had Vegas at 6 purely out of spite as well.
Okay. See, I know my partners. I said mine probably on the outside, but you have to give them. You just said it. Gravikov, Peterka, Ehlers. I mean, there's no bigger fish than Marner. I mean, it's been a saga for over a year now. So, but I was like, they won't put him in. I mean, so all right, fair. I'll leave him out, even though they were in my 5. We'll get him out.
Yeah, the thing with Marner is he's obviously great, but I think that the loss of Pietrangelo as their easy set and forget number 1 D on the right side almost offsets it, and that's why I had them down the list a little bit, because they don't have a replacement for Pietrangelo, and he was their top pairing guy. Yeah. And like Hannafin and Theodore are great, but they're both on the left side. If one of them moves to the right side, they both play a similar enough style too that they're kind of redundant. They're just sort of in a strange position where Marner is awesome, but the loss of Pietrangelo I think is really going to hurt them. And so that's kind of my. I mean, it was out of spite, honestly, that I left them out. But I can also put myself into that trade. There is a bad Like Marner's great, but Pietrangelo is still really important to them.
Their D definitely does feel a little bit thin. It's not terrible or anything, Whitecloud, McNabb,
No.
these guys are fine depth D, but it's not the juggernaut that you felt like it used to be maybe a few years ago when Nate Schmidt was back there as well. Obviously, a healthy Pietrangelo. You had a functional but aging Alec Martinez. A lot of those pieces have moved on. Okay.
And they traded Nick Hague.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
yeah,
And then he
their
got signed
defense-
to way too much money, but
for sure. And that's how they get
Where-
Sissons. And I didn't think that was I don't think that's a great deal. I don't think Colton Sissons is any good unless he's playing against the Avs. So,
yeah, I don't
Anyway.
disagree. All right. Number 3, it sounds like is where Carolina's going to be for us. I had him at 2. Sounded like you had him at 4 and you had him at 3, AJ.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
We'll lock in Carolina. I had Utah at 3 for the record. Who did you have at 3? Or did you have Carolina at 3? I forget.
No, I had it at 4, so it's fine.
Okay.
Remember, I had Vegas in there, so I threw it up. I threw Vegas out.
Look, I feel like Carolina had a good offseason. Did they really solve their problem of needing to go out and get a superstar? No. Are they still just going to be a conference finals team? Maybe, but they made good moves. Did they maybe pay a couple extra bucks for Ehlers? Sure, but that's a fine deal.
Yeah.
They gave up draft capital for Miller, which is fine because they should be in a win now situation. I think the moves they made are fine.
Well, and their system is so stocked, they couldn't even. Scott Morrow's a really good young D prospect who's ready for more playing time in the NHL, and they couldn't find time for him.
Yeah.
So the way that they've been able to bring defenders in and kind of rehabilitate them and turn them into really, really good players. Like Keandre Miller was the guy that I was like nervous about. Like I've always kind of liked him, but there were really big holes in his game. Now that he's in Carolina, I'm like, oh great, he'll probably just be a stud now. He'll probably be great.
Just throw him
My
next
other
to any
concern
one of
is
their high end.
Carolina, you got to get through Florida. You got to get through and again, I think two guys, again, two good additions, right? Obviously, Miller and Ehlers. But are they two guys that are playoff performers? I don't know. I don't think so.
Not historically.
That's my point. So that for me, on paper, is a good deal, and in time will tell. Can they really bring it in the playoffs, which they really haven't in their careers?
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see.
They won a conference final game this year. Baby steps. All right. Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps.
Who did you have at 3?
Remember, I had Vegas. Remember, we threw them out.
Oh, you did have
So-
Vegas.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right.
I remember I was Vegas, Canes, Mammoth, 3, 4, 5.
For the
So
record, my
Rangers
number
weren't there,
4.
but I-
Yeah. It fits. We just hate Vegas here. That's the rules.
Yeah.
I had the Islanders at 4 for the record.
I had a question mark on them. They were right on the outside for me because
Yeah.
I like what Matthew did. And for the record, just people don't know, Matthew was Darch, one of our call-ups back then in the early mid-2000s, I want to say. Early 2000, mid-2000. He was one of our leaders in Hershey. Great kid, great guy. I like what he did. I like that he's putting his stamp on it, and he's like, cleaning stuff and letting Patty choose his assistants. Not that I love John McClain, but it wasn't Patty's pick, right? Tommy Albaline. Those were all from the Lou era, right? So now he's got his guys in there that he wants in there. I like that he, didn't feel comfortable with the Dobson, giving the money to Dobson. So he went and got some assets for it. Obviously, he tried something else. It didn't work out. Obviously, you can tell that he had those 2 draft picks. He was trying to do something. But at the end of the day, they win the lottery. They got Schaefer. There's enthusiasm there. Cole Eiserman, friend of the show, coming in probably at the end of the year, right? So, you're right because I'm not lying. It's right here. I don't need to show you, but it's right here. Islanders ? That was my outside team there.
Yeah. Look, they did a pretty cost-effective deal for Jonathan Drouin that I really liked. Nothing of their own doing, but getting Matthew Schaefer certainly helps your offseason in general, even if that isn't something that comes into play until next year. That Dobson deal, I understand keeping them on the outside just because they didn't turn those firsts into anything in the immediate. But
yeah, my problem was the Dobson deal is that they got the 16th and 17th picks and a depth forward.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not much, man, for Noah Dobson.
Yeah. Understandable. And I'm perfectly happy to keep them out of the list on that one. I just had them at 4 because I liked the other stuff that they did. All right. We can get to our top 2 in just a second here, but first we do have to pay a few bills. So let's make sure we are doing our off-season needs before anything else, as we are brought to you by the folks over at Cake Mortgage. Cake Mortgage is the business owner's home mortgage partner. Look, if you're a regular employee of a company, you get a W-2, that type of stuff is super easy for traditional lenders. But if you're maybe a different path to your employment, whether that being a business owner, creative professional, contractor, tech entrepreneur, freelancer, anyone who eats what they hunt, that's where Cake Mortgage can come into play and help. You can get in with a mortgage a lot more effectively with them. Look, most places just see how much you make. They give you a mortgage value based on that. But if you run your own business, there are different angles because you can reduce your taxable income by keeping more money in your business. That means that tax returns don't show all that much income. Most lenders don't understand that. Cake does. Cake can get business owners approved by validating your cash flow through bank statements, certified profit and loss statements, or bank tax returns. You can jump in with Cake Mortgage today. Go give them a call at 1-888-EAT-CAKE or go to cakehome.com. There's also a link down in the description. Use that one to let them know we sent you over there. Of course, Cake Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender, NMLS number 1734623, licensed in Colorado by the Division of Real Estate. Of course, terms and conditions apply. Click the link in the description for more. Then, you're going to have some couple extra bucks. Maybe don't bet the mortgage because you'll lose, but bet your fun money with Bet365. And when you sign up with DNVR 365, you can get some extra fun money. Put $10 in with that code, bet $5 on anything, win or lose that bet. You get $150 in bonus bets with Bet365. You can bet on whatever you want. You want to bet on who is going to win the cup next year? Jump on. You want to bet on baseball that's actually being played right now? Jump in with that too. Tons of other sports as well, especially this time of year. Lots of summer craziness going on, whether it be beach volleyball or some nonsense sports that you've never heard of. You can probably bet on it with Bet365. Again, use the DNVR 365 code to sign up today. Get those $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. The bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. And of course, when you do gamble with them, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Let's get number 2. Who did we have, boys? I had Carolina, so you're up.
E?
I had my friend, my hometown team, my childhood team. They're going to be something, guys. I'm telling you. Montréal Canadiens. Canadiens de Montréal. I love what they did, man. All I hear lately, and God, just maybe because I like Kenton, because we're hockey dads, right? But together, forget about the GM. But everything he's doing right now, him and Jeff Gordon, I think they've done it right. I give a lot of credit to Kent Hughes. I always do, right? But I always forget to add a little bit of credit to, not a little bit, a lot of credit to Jeff Gordon. You know what I mean? Because Jeff Gordon, if you remember, was doing that with the New York Rangers. Remember, they sent that letter to the fans, and this is the rebuild. And then all of a sudden, they were fired, him and JD, right in the middle of it. Like, you know what I mean? It never made sense to me. Ex-Avalanche, Chris Drury takes over. Awesome. I love Chris. That's not what I'm saying. But, and then from Montreal to get Gordon, you know what I mean? I think they did the same thing. They really stripped it down. They really taken their time. And now it's time for them to attack. Wow. You love Noah Dobson. I mean, AJ, I know for a fact, Rudo, I don't remember where you're at with them, but that's the trade now that you've been patient for a few years. Now that's the trade you make because you're saying, okay. And then you go get that. Remember that Balduke? Play the clips back of that watch along. I didn't know who he was. I had no idea who Zach Balduke was, honestly, because he didn't play in the American League, right? Which is, being on the pro side of things, you don't watch juniors, so wasn't familiar with him. I wanted to eat him those 2 games. I'm like, I'm going to kill this kid. This kid's annoying. He was going after Makar, and then he was scoring, and I'm like, what? This guy scored 19 or 20, whatever. That's a heck of a trade. You have an abundance of right shot Ds, right? Right backer, you were able to give one. You probably gave the right one because they love Ryan Backer. Obviously, you go get Dobson. So now more and more you're able to, get rid of a prospect like Mayu, but you're getting Balduke. And I'm like, what? So now they're getting tougher to play against. There's that phenomenon. What's his name there? Demidov. I mean, you're talking about those few games that he played. It was outstanding. And then all I hear that he's an unbelievable kid and it's unreal. And, so they hit it big. And I'll tell you why. A little side thing on the Montreal Canadiens is they have that guy that's really tight with the Russians, right, on their amateur side of things. And that's how they're able to really connect right now with the Russian side of things. They got another guy in the second round or late first round this year, same thing. And people didn't think he was going to come over, just like Demidov. And it's a lot of work, right, because of all the rules in Russia and everything. But I'll tell you one thing. Is it Ivan Brobov is his name? I think he's the head guy with Marty Lapointe, right? Ex-Red Wing. And again, I'll give flowers to an ex-Red Wing, Marty. He's done a great job on the amateur side of things. He's done great. And he's passionate. And I'll tell you one thing. They get Balduke and Dobson and then kind of build. And then, like him or not, Kirby Doc, right? Again, I know you guys didn't like him. And again, it's like, I'm not saying that he's worthy of liking, but you got to feel for him with those injuries he's had, right? So now you're like, okay, can he be the second line center that they really need? You know what I mean? Behind Suzuki. So I love what Montreal did. I think people are excited. I think that they're just scratching the surface. I don't really like their goaltending. I think it's average.
Yeah.
But I love what they've done. And I think at top 5 is really worthy of their off season because I think they've done awesome. So I don't know if you guys have in there, but I do.
I have Montreal at 2, so I'm pretty much in agreement here.
There you go.
I thought that the Mayu Bolduc swap was a big win for them. I've never been much of a believer in Mayu. I think he kind of sucks, and shouldn't be in the NHL, but that's fine. The Dobson thing is just, it was so cheap for them. Two first-round picks on paper, you're like, oh my God, that's 2 first-round picks. But picks 16 and 17 in a draft class that we all spent months hammering as a bad draft class. Like, for Noah Dobson.
Yep.
Well,
I just think this is
Savvy business.
pretty easy deal.
You got your goal scorer, in Cole coming in from last year's first round, right? Whether you like Cole Eiserman or not, I love him. That's besides the point. But you're talking about your goal scorer. This is a guy. If he's going to play in the NHL, he's going to score 50, right? Or he's not going to play. So he's going to play. He's going to score 50. And then you get your number 1 D here in Schaefer. Again, lottery pick. It's you win the lottery. I mean, that's all part of luck. But so the Islanders are they could give away those 2 picks, and it made sense for them. Montreal could give away those 2 picks, and then the Islanders can do whatever they want now after that. They were trying to move those 2 picks because they do have, Schaefer and then Eiserman, but it obviously didn't work out that way, so they went and picked more. But they picked. I think it's a deal that worked for both teams, but I didn't think the cost was really high for Montreal. I agree.
Yeah, and from the Habs side, they get a number 1 guy. They can play him next to Lane Hudson for maybe the softest top pairing in the league, but oh my God, absolutely dynamite when they have the puck. Whatever alignment they want to go with, they did that. They made the Dobson deal, and I thought it was huge that they didn't give up Reinbacher, because I've been a big fan of his. The injuries have kind of slowed him a little bit in his development, but a big right shot D that no longer has to worry about being the man offensively for them, and they don't have to worry about him being a top pairing guy for them anymore. Just go and develop, and it takes so much of that pressure off of Reinbacher to be a stud and just go do his thing. Like I just think that it was such a great deal for them, and they kept Reinbacher in that process. And for Montreal, if it weren't for what happened in Florida, I think they would be my number one team on this easily.
Yep. I kept Montreal off, not because of what they did. Like you guys have said, I think it's a bunch of really savvy stuff, but he kind of mentioned it. One, I don't like their goaltending at all.
Yeah.
I think Montembeault is a low-end starter at best, and then I don't really know what you're doing with Kakinen and Dobish below that. And then the other side of it is, look, I don't know how much they could have really done about this offseason necessarily, but their forward situation is a little bit weird with Patrick Laine, and what are you doing there? Nick Suzuki's awesome. Cole Caulfield's awesome, but it feels like they're maybe missing a piece or two for that top six. That could be a good piece to pick up. He's not going to be that guy playing in your top six, scoring you 50, 60 points. Slavkovsky is a guy.
I think I would disagree. I think I like Bolduc a lot more than that. But their problem is that they don't have a second line center.
Sure.
Like
Eric
was talking about.
You're
talking about.
You're asking for a big step up in Bolduc if you think he's going to be a 50 to 60 point guy, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, first pro season, he had 19 goals. He blew up in the second half of the year. Was awesome for St. Louis. I mean, as a lot of those guys were, but their big hole is it's the 2C job. Frankly, the 3C job too. Their wingers, I think their wingers all the way through their top 9 are really good. I like them a lot. Laine, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, obviously Bolduc, Demidov, and you get into the Josh Anderson, Brendan Gallagher's. Like they just have so many good players now. Where the elite guys, fair enough.
How much do you
fair
really
enough,
like Nick Suzuki? That's the question.
yeah, and
Demidov's going to be elite. It's just when. I don't know when.
But
but another winner.
I'm with it. And as Chad mentioned, Jacob Fowler's in the pipeline for them, who I'm sure Eric has thoughts on. But until he gets there, I'm not a big fan of their goaltending, but they can wait that out. What they've got is fine. What I like is that they didn't make the playoffs in a bad conference and then go, some internal improvement. We'll be okay.
Sure.
They said, no, we're going to drop the hammer. We're going to do this thing. Like, we're serious about winning now. It's time. And I think that I love their approach to it. I think that the guys that they got were really good, and I think that the price paid in both of those trades were both really solid. I love what's happening in Montreal right now. They rock.
Yeah. Newey's still there. Some people are asking about Newhook. Yeah, Newhook's still there.
Yeah, one of their
hasn't filled that
hopes at center.
For them, but
has to be one of their hopes at center or one of their solid wings.
So Canadians at 2. I think we all have Florida at 1. I'm assuming it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
They brought back all the key pieces of a back-to-back cup winner. Yes, they're $3 million over the cap. They're going to have to shed a piece, but yes, there's probably going to be problems 3-4 years from now with some of those deals they signed. But in the immediate, there's no reason not to think that they brought back all the pieces and they're going to run it back.
Yep. In the immediate, Yahtzee. They're the champs, and it's on everybody else to go chase them down, and they are one of the very few good teams in the NHL that didn't get worse.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's very similar to the Avs 01 Cup team. Still smelling the champagne in the locker room, and at the last minute there, they signed Blake Waugh and Sakic. So, you know what I mean? Like all three, you know what I mean? And again, those were not like hometown discounts. They were like at the top of the league in salaries, all three, but it still took a little, obviously, hometown discount in case, but they decided to stick together. And that's what happens when you win. You negotiate on emotions, and it's hard to say when you've been going everywhere with the fellas, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'm going to sign with Team X tomorrow. And it's like, I think given the options, and I think Bill Zito did a master job there with the way we all know Marchand's not going to be playing at the end of that contract. There's no chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it is what it is, and it's within the rules. And it's just, it is what it is, right? So, but yeah, you got to give it to them. I mean, there some I read the other day that their cap percentage of those three will be smaller next year than it was this year. So,
Oh yeah,
Look,
I mean,
they are
the money paid on those deals was nothing except the Sam Bennett deal. Like the Sam Bennett deal is an egregious overpay for the player, but they can afford to do that because they have egregious underpays everywhere else.
well, they are the beneficiary of good timing. When you look at them doing this, the Avs a couple of years ago just wouldn't have been capable because they were in a flat cap situation. Florida wins their back-to-backs right as the cap starts to accelerate, gives them just enough space to be able to do something like this. And they're still probably going to have to shed an E-Rod. So it worked out very well for them. And it's hard to fault bringing the guys back when you've been to the Cup Finals 3 years in a row and won two of them. We do need to pay a few bills here before we get into our losers of free agency. So don't be a loser. Go make sure you build yourself a good foundation and a good floor with Empire today. Just like your favorite teams need a home ice. I don't think Empire does home ice. Maybe basketball, all right? The home court. They could do a court. Your home needs a floor advantage with Empire today. Join the flooring experts over at Empire today. They're dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. They only carry the best products. Tile, hardwood, carpet. They've got the best stuff. They filter out all the junk that some other big box stores carry that you don't even really want in your house. So they make sure you get the good stuff. You can visit them at empiretoday.com/DNVR, use their online tools, or you can schedule a free in-home estimate today and use code DNVR. They'll bring out swatches. You can see the flooring in your space, see what it looks like with your furniture. And when you decide on what you want, you can get a $350 discount with code DNVR. Yep, that's right. $350 off with code DNVR. Again, head to empiretoday.com/DNVR to see all restrictions. Or, of course, you can always call 1-800-588-2300-EMPIRE. Once you've got your floors sorted out, make sure you also got your money sorted out. Look, everyone likes to spend money. If you're not spending money, why are you even living, right? You might as well have some fun sometimes, but you got to keep track of it. And that's where Monarch Money comes into play. Sometimes finances can be messy and confusing. It happens to all of us, but Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can set investments and goals. And you can do more than that. You can start building wealth with 50% off your first year for our listeners here at DNVR. Start managing your finances to build the life you actually want. Monarch Money makes managing money simple, even for busy lives. They're rated the best budgeting app of 2025 by the Wall Street Journal, and it's a financial tool that people actually love. It's one of the top recommended finance apps out there, over 30,000 five-star reviews. So get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money and use code DNVR at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off at monarchmoney.com with code DNVR. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Let's flip over to the bottom five teams in free agency and the off season so far. Who you guys got at number 5?
Let me see here. All right, I'll go first. I think you guys have him higher, but as an alumni, as a fan of Kenny Hall,
Get out of here.
I am.
Get out.
A fan. I have to put the Kings there. You know what I mean? I just feel that it was just a bunch of players just to put players in slots. That's just my feeling. I think there's more to come. But it kind of felt like, and again, it's hard to judge. You just take over. You just got the job, and
And he
As an
immediately
alumnus, I
did
have
Ken
to
Holland
say.
things. Yeah, it's horrible. He's terrible at his job.
No, I like Kenny.
have
But I'm saying like I feel that it was a bit of a you lost Gravikov, you know what I mean? So that's a tough one that we see on the picture here. Yeah, we do. So and you didn't really replace him, right? I mean, obviously he was one of the main guys in free agency, but I just felt it was a patch up job, and that's why I think there's more to come. And I will zip it now, but I know you guys have him lower probably.
I hope there's more to come because I have them at 1. I have them as the
Yeah.
worst team.
Yeah. See, I knew it.
All
See,
right.
I knew it. I know my partners. I do. I know my partners.
I had him at 3.
All right.
I thought there were some teams that did some Watt and just didn't have great summers so far. With LA, Eric, like you just said, they kind of just it looked to me like they were solidifying their floor, which is fine. They're all NHL players that will make you not terrible, and that's great. So the bottom should not drop out from the team. There's some value to that, but they gave term and high AAV for that kind of security, and I don't think that it pushed the ball forward. And I just don't understand. It just doesn't, to me. I don't know that they got better. They just kept themselves from getting significantly worse, and there's value in that. That's fine, but
The reason I hate LA's offseason, 1, Cody Ceci, but 2, I don't know that there was a team with a more clear mission this offseason. You have lost to the Edmonton Oilers in the first round 4 years in a row. Your only objective should be figuring out how to get past that team and into the next round. And Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin are not it. You didn't do anything to help your offense. Edmonton's still going to be able to outscore you. You're not going to repeat last year's absurd defensive season where you just gave up absolutely nothing somehow magically. You'll still be good defensively. Kopitar's a year older. Doughty's a year older. You didn't really help your forward core in any meaningful way. Corey Perry is not going to magic you to the Cup Finals. I'm sorry, as much as that meme is great, but it's not going to happen. And you got a bunch of, like, I even like Brian Dumoulin. I don't even hate that deal, but it does not help LA do what they needed to get done this offseason.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, Armia and Perry will make your bottom 6 better. That wasn't really their problem.
Yeah.
Replacing Gavrikov and spending more money on CC and Dumoulin. That's a net loss.
And like, I get that Gavrikov was out of your control. He didn't want to be there. Fine, whatever. But you didn't replace him very well. Put it to you that way.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah,
hold off on Kings for a second, since they probably are a bit higher than 5.
Just because Eric has them at 5, I have them at 3, and you have them at 1. We all agree that the Kings should be on the list, but we're all over the board on where.
This should be 3, and if it's 1, 3, and 5.
Yeah, probably end up at 3. AJ, who'd you have at 5?
I had Seattle. So
I also had Seattle.
This is just a rudderless ship drifting through the ocean with no semblance of a plan, no captain, no identity, no nothing. They are nothing. They are nothing in the NHL right now. They are as irrelevant as you could possibly be. They had one charmed season that unfortunately we had to sit through. And that's been it. That's really it. That their offseason, they give away Burakovsky. Fine. He was a guy that I had labeled as a buy low option. Fine. It hadn't worked there. It was really not going well. Like, I get it. That's okay. But taking on albatross contracts in Freddie Gaudreau and Mason Marchment. Marchment fits their style.
Yeah, I don't hate the Marchment
so far. The Marchment move is fine. He'll kind of do what Brandon Tanev had been doing for them previously, to an extent. Not as good defensively, but
offensively. I mean,
Yeah, but it's still blah money. Ryan Lindgren, we all agreed that was a contract none of us were comfortable giving him for the player that he is. And taking Freddie Gaudreau is awful. He had one good year. Minnesota
Yep.
paid him a bunch of money to keep the AAV down. The AAV was still too high, even at 2.1, I think. It's still too high for the quality of player that he has been more often than not in the NHL. So, and they're just adding these guys. What is their plan on defense? They add Ryan Lindgren to that defense that they need. By the way, they need to sign Riker Evans. So now he's on a left side with Vince Dunn and Jamie Alexiak. Ryan Lindgren's going to be their $4.5 million third pairing guy. Now this makes a little bit more sense if they move Alexiak. P.S. Do that. But even then, Ryan Lindgren as a second pairing, he's not a second pairing caliber player. So the price for the role is better, but the price for the caliber of player is still bad. What are they doing? They just seem so adrift to me that I'm just like, okay, great.
In similar ways to Detroit didn't make my bottom five for the record, but for years now it feels like Detroit goes into free agency and just does stuff. That's what Seattle is doing. They're doing stuff. Are they solving their need for high-end forwards? No. Their most productive player is Jared McCann. And Jared McCann's a good player, don't get me wrong, but that's your star forward. You're still waiting for Matty Beniers to break out. Give him some help. Go get real players that can play with him. And then I'm a little bit harsher on them for this Burakovsky thing, especially when you look at what the Avs did with Charlie Coyle and Miles Wood, and they still were able to get assets back for getting out of those contracts. And Seattle moves on from Burakovsky only to go out and buy out the rest of Joe Veleno's contract. So they only really get about $3 million saved in space. It's just bad business. And I know Coyle had more value around the league than Burakovsky did, but Seattle just finds ways to manage everything poorly.
Well, and what did you need to buy? I mean, the Veleno buyout won't hurt them, but why do it? I guess my question. You could have just let him play for a year in your bottom six and tool around, and if you found something, then you found something, and if you don't, then whatever. Like it just seemed really nonsensical to me. Their team, you look at it, and it's like they should be pretty good at center with Matty Beniers and Shane Wright, and they're not. They're not.
Yep.
They haven't been good
anywhere.
I don't
know what to tell you.
They've not been good anywhere. And their one bright spot in their organization's history so far was, absolutely everything has gone right, and everybody believed this was real, and it's a joke. Like they're paying over $10 million in goaltenders, and they have one NHL caliber goalie at this point. Sorry, Philip Grubauer, but you're bad. You've been bad.
Yep.
It's just this whole thing is just to me it's blah. And I would have this the other team that I had in contention for the spot was Buffalo, just because great, you gave a bunch of money to your own guys and you traded Peterka and you're in a contract cat fight with Bo and Byram. Cool. You haven't gotten any closer to doing what you want to do.
I left Buffalo off not because they didn't have a bad season, but because the bar is so low for them that it's like you didn't set anything on fire this year. So good job. You're not in the bottom five.
There have been some real bad off seasons, and I think that helps Buffalo in this case.
I left Buffalo alone because, man, oh man, they got to be left alone. It's been too long. So I just don't want to. You don't want to beat like a team that's been down like that. Like, man, give them a break right now. Just let them breathe a little bit. But the one thing about Seattle, and you're right, I had them in there as a question mark. So right there, if you guys want to slide them in, that's fine. And yes, it will. Like Buffalo going to Buffalo. But I think, AJ, you nailed it with your rant there on Seattle. I one word for me describes everything is no identity. I just don't know what the identity of that franchise is. From GMs now, they brought in, obviously Ronnie stepped aside when it went above, and what is it? God, what's his name that came in? That was
Botterill.
the GM that was in Botterill, and then just the coaching. Just what is it? Third coach now. This is the third coach
Yeah.
it's. So I just don't know where the identity is, and that's the word that I took from your well described reason why they are in the top 5 losers. No identity.
Yeah.
Keep in mind they still have to sign Kako too, which was it a breakout and he's legit, or is it a good 50 games? Like a hard decision to make there.
They need to sign Kakao and Evans, and they have $11 million left in cap space. That's enough, but they're going to be close enough to the cap where you're like, how are they once again bad?
Yep, it's
when they've spent this much money.
All right, I think we can slide Kraken in at 5. E, who'd you have at 4?
So we already said. Sorry, I had Seattle at 4. Sorry, I said on the outside.
Oh, you had Seattle in at 4.
I had Seattle in at 4. Sorry.
All right, let's go to AJ's 4 then.
I've got Anaheim here for mine. I think that this is another team. I don't get why they're making these choices. Mm-hmm. So you dump Zegras for Ryan Poehling, fine. Ryan Poehling's a good depth player, fine. Trevor Zegras was kind of a locker room-ish, cancer-ish. That relationship was bad, is what I'm saying. It's tough to call somebody a cancer. That's kind of mean, but the relationship was bad and things had really stagnated there. I get it. All right, so you dump him, fine. But the rest of this, they finally move on for John Gibson. Neat. You're clearing out tons of cap space, and you kind of use it on Chris Kreider and Mikael Granlund, which...
That's the weird part, yeah.
To what end is my question here? Because now they've got Granlund, who's 33, Chris Kreider, who's 34, Alex Killorn is 35, Ryan Strome is 31, Frank Vetrano is 31. Congrats. That is the majority of their top 9. I mean, what are we doing? What's the point of this? I don't understand why they continue to add veterans with where they're short. They will have short-term impact at the NHL level. So they're trying to make the 8th seed out west in a West that has continued to get better and better. I guess I just don't understand why.
Me either. It feels counterintuitive, right? And maybe you can talk yourself into, all right, you know what? Chris Kreider only has 2 years left on his deal. Maybe you retain some, flip him, try to get some assets. Sure. But you gave Mikael Granlund the 3rd year, which makes that awfully tough. You paid him to come be a guy for you. Meanwhile, like you trade Gibson out for Mrazek, you get worse at that position. You trade Trevor Zegras out for Ryan Pan, you're getting worse. Those moves are making your NHL roster worse. Sounds like you're looking towards the future, which makes sense for them. They have some young guys, they can move towards the future. And that's where the Kreider Granlund stuff stops making sense to me. I know you guys might believe in them a little bit more and how much of that is getting Joe Quenneville on the bench to maybe make them a competitive hockey team, but
he will.
You talk about Seattle being rudderless. This feels like the opposite of rudderless. This feels like 2 different guys fighting over the steering wheel on where this team is headed.
P.S. We haven't even gotten to it yet, but they're also in a pissing match with Mason McTavish and Lucas Dostal.
They have so much cap space that it doesn't really matter, but
right. It's just to me like, yes, when Quenneville comes in, he will make them more competitive. He will make them better coached. He will give them structure. He will elevate the floor of that team. Fine. If they could sneak out a little bit of playoff experience for a couple of their younger guys, fine. But again, how many spots do the younger guys even have? I could run through that list again. Granlund 33, Kreider 34, Cologne 35, Strome 31, Vetrano 31. That's 5 of their top 6 players. Leo Carlsson at 20 years old is the other one.
Yep.
What playoff experience are we trying to get? You even have older guys in your bottom 6 right now. And on defense, your right side has Jacob Trouba 31 and Radko Gudas 35. They've got a young defense other than that that's very green. Quinville will help them a lot. But I mean, to what end?
Yeah.
What are they trying to actually accomplish? So you're going to make the postseason and you're going to lose in the first round, and then all the old guys will eventually either be too old and they'll move on at the end of those contracts, or what? You keep them? What's the point of this is what I'm saying. What direction are you going? To me, this is nonsense. This is an impatient GM who thinks that his job is on the line. And so he's making moves a little bit out of desperation, trying to keep the job for another year. I don't think that this is planned. I don't think this is methodical. I think this is nonsense.
I had him on the outside there. Question mark. That's the team, not Seattle. Remember, I had Seattle at 4, but then this is my team that I had on the outside. Just because, I mean, it's tough to argue what you're saying. There's a little bit of mixture, anything. And do I think this is the year? I love Troy Terry. I've been going after him for years. This is the year. I think this is the year that they trade him and they go fix their. I don't know why I'm saying that. That's just a hunch. Obviously, leading scorer last year again. If I'm a team, if he's on the market, go get him. I love Troy Terry. So
I would say this about Anaheim. If you put them in any other division, I don't even think it's a conversation about them making the playoffs. They just happen to play in the Pacific where everybody sucks, so maybe they have a chance.
All right, let me ask you something. Honestly, I didn't think about this till right now. Maybe it's the freaking heat stroke that's getting to me. But how do we get if it's really true or whatever, and again, not starting rumors, so please let's not start this one. But let's say they are moving on from Marty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their way to get Troy Terry and one of their young Ds, I'll do it. Terry is freaking good. You're talking about skill. If you put him with good players, like with the Avs, like this guy can get. Again, he scored 37 one year, but, can this guy get 70, 80 points consistently? Absolutely. If you don't want to pay Marty, I said. If you don't want to pay Marty 10. He's signed at 7. He's local. You're talking about pure skill, one of the most pure skilled player I've ever seen. He's a magician. And they have so many young Ds. And there's a couple of veterans that you log jam those Ds a little bit. I don't know. Just a thought. Just throwing it out there.
No, that's. I mean, they've got 6 signed players that they should be playing, and then they have Drew Hellison that's unsigned, who finally got into some games. And I keep saying, bring that guy back to Colorado. I've talked, Eric, I'm with you. I've theorized about the Ducks being one of the very few teams that it would actually make sense for the Avs to trade Marty Necas to, because of the young defenders and because they're more in need of a high-end wing addition than they are a center addition, because Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish are there. So that is...
I'm just throwing it out there. Different show, but I'm just saying. We're talking about Anaheim. But I had Anaheim right on the outside with a question mark. My outside people were a question mark. So, yeah. So I'm looking at Ducks.
Chuck, it's not about the top of the division. There's no argument. Oilers are a great team. Vegas is a great team. They have the high end at the top, but the gap between the high end, they had the Sharks, literal worst team in the league. Kraken has been bad for the majority of their existence, except the 1 year. The Ducks are on the way out. Calgary is Calgary. They never make the playoffs, or if they do, they get eliminated in the first round. They're the Calgary zone specialists. And you have a Vancouver team that I don't even know what to make of at this point. Not to say this year actually was the first year where I felt like the Central lacked a little bit of that depth, but even then, they got both wild card spots, and Utah was right on the edge. If you're looking in the West, as a whole, the Pacific is by far the weaker division. Yes, the Blackhawks suck. Yes, Nashville had a terrible year, but it is what it is. Anyway, we do need to keep moving on. I think we can go ahead and put the Ducks at 4. We all agreed Kings at 3 based on our full rankings, but I had Chicago at 4 for the record. We don't need to talk about them. They just didn't do anything as an organization that it reminded me of the 16-17 trade deadline for the Avs, where you're desperately just trying to do anything to get assets and they just sit on their hands and nothing happens. Fine with them not being on the list, all good, but yeah.
And then just somebody's talking about Hackstall. Like Hackstall just got hired as the assistant coach, Avalanche.
Cool. At least
Great.
we were live when it happened.
I can't wait to talk about it tomorrow, but
yeah.
Initial response is what? Cool.
Can you see it? There you go, yeah.
Guess we're gonna find out how good of a power play he can put together.
All right. Let's just move on. That'll be tomorrow's show.
Yep. Who'd you guys have at 3? AJ had the Kings at 3. E, who'd you have at 3?
Yeah. I had the Dallas Stars. That's who I had because I don't like them.
Nice.
It's kind of like it's like your Vegas. I just feel that they lost Mikko. They lost Mikko. They added Mikko. I don't know. I just feel that. I don't know. I don't think that they've done. And I'm still bitter about that first round. So this is my spite pick. How's that? This is my spite pick.
Fair
It
enough.
doesn't make sense because I'm still mad about that first round. So.
I mean, I think there are questions there.
I admit it.
I can't put them on there because they got good value with the Duchesne deal, at least in the immediate. The Jamie Benn deal is good value. Their internal stuff they did a good job of, but they're currently sitting over the cap. Matt Dumba's contract is still rotting on their lineup. They lost Mason Marchment for essentially nothing in the immediate.
Yeah.
Are they a better team than they were? No, they lose. They definitely got worse. Like there's no doubt about it, and they still have.
I feel better. That's fine. I feel better about my pick. That's fine.
I mean, their defense has changed. Not one single player. Every single guy on their defense is back, and that except for losing Cody Ceci.
Yep.
So neat. They only have one. They have a 2027 first round pick to play with, but they don't have one in 2026 and they don't have one in 2028. And they're, by the way, they're $1.8 million over the cap.
Yep.
So they're going to have to move some of these guys around. They're going to have to trade a guy here, it keeps being like, oh, getting rid of Matt Dumba will be easy. They had the chance to buy him out. They didn't do it. They didn't trade him. They didn't do it. They haven't done anything yet to try and make the right side of their defense any better. It's just not getting better. I genuinely they haven't done much of anything, but I don't have them on my list because I have them in the same class as Colorado and Winnipeg. They're worse than they were when the season ended, but I am convinced that all three of those teams will still have something left to do where I will feel differently by the open of training camps. And if that's not the case, then all three failed.
I would agree with that. I mean, I think Winnipeg may be a little bit worse, but not going to nitpick on guys outside of the top 5 here. Don't think Dallas is going to make it. Let's move into your guys' top 2. I already talked about my top 2. My number 3, I guess we can go with that first. Philadelphia. I don't think Philadelphia's offseason was truly, truly horrible. My disdain for Trevor Zegras is pretty well known at this point. I don't think for a team that's trying to get back into the playoffs, is a Trevor Zegras type really the type of guy you want to bring in. And then the other moves is just a lot of ridiculous overpays. You paid $5.4 million for Dvorak. What, for 1 year? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It felt like a team that needed to try to make a swing to get into the playoffs, and I guess they made their swings. I just really didn't like the swings that they made.
I feel the opposite. My initial pass through of this, I had the Flyers as one of my good off seasons. I like because it's a super low addition, low cost to add Zegras. Christian Dvorak is 1 year, so I don't really care what his salary is.
Long term, it's not going to hurt him for sure.
But I think there is. I ultimately took them off my list because a little of the same issue that I had with the Ducks of to what end? Like, what are you trying to accomplish as a franchise? And with that in mind, I was like, I was a little bit of I was less of a fan when I thought about that, and so I don't think it's that bad, but I don't feel any kind of. I guess I'll put them in
Yeah,
the
I
big
didn't.
middle area.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't mind them. I like those guys, anyways. You guys know, but no, I don't. I didn't have them in my not even as a question mark. But it's funny. I mean, I'm not saying you. I'm not making fun of your choice. I'm saying it's
No,
funny.
but
Like there's so many choices you can look at and feel a certain way, you know.
for the
But I
record,
didn't even think about them.
I had Kings and Ducks 1 and 2. I thought their off seasons were far worse than Philadelphia's, for the record. So,
AJ, who'd you have 1 and 2?
For my bad off seasons, I had Boston at 2 and Edmonton at 1.
Yeah,
very quickly,
I did.
we already missed the mark. We are headed into overtime. So, most of you are already watching online, but join us at thednvr.com for continued coverage. All right.
I agree. I have Edmonton as 1 too, just because for me it's like, bro, like you got to fix again. I'm sure he's a great dude. I hate doing that because I know he's been through a lot. I hate saying that. Like it hurts me to say that, Stuart Skinner. I just don't think he's the guy that's gonna give them the Stanley Cup. You know what I mean? And no matter what, I don't care if you have to trade 30 players to go get a goalie. Do it because right now it's the only thing you need to do. So that's why I had them at 1. Oh, that's it. Forget about the rest. That's it. Just you got to fix your goaltending. And again, unfortunately, I'm not sure what's available. Then figure it out. Then make it available. Trade 30 for 1.
Yeah, for me, you don't do anything in net. You overpay by a ton for Trent Frederick. I get that you like him, but what is that commitment? Mangiapane is fine. Like he's a solid player. I don't have any real problem. I didn't like him as a fit in Denver because of his skating, but as a player, he's fine. But you lose out on Arvidsson, Connor Brown, Evander Kane, and Corey Perry. That's a lot off of your postseason roster that helped you. And then John Klingberg was actually really good for like 3 rounds and then completely fell apart. So you're talking about a ton that they lost and haven't done anything with, and they have the same problem in net, the same exact problem in net. So for me, I think that's a train wreck of an off season, and I really don't. I mean, I felt this way last year, so who am I? But I don't feel good about them coming out of the West.
It's hard to say, are they really going to run it back with that goaltending for a third year? I think that's the big tough one for me on Edmonton. Did they get worse at forward? Yes. They were going to get worse at forward no matter what. Their cap situation just is what it is with so much committed to the top of their lineup. They have to get a little bit creative. Instead of trying to find cheap stuff, they said they liked Andrew Mangiapane. That's the choice that they made.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. I don't mind the loss of Corey Perry. Evander Kane, they're definitely going to miss him.
Again, for me, I'll flip-flop for a second too, and then I did say, like, I hate doing that because that's why I didn't want to put them on the list. I had Bruins in capital letters on my list, but it's my beloved Bruins, big bad Bruins. I didn't want to put them on the list because, yeah, they did a lot like what LA did, right? Just a little bit of
but worse players,
right? Just got like Tanev, you lose Frederick, but you signed I don't know. I didn't want to put him in there, but I just saw it on the corner of my eye, and I thought it was going to be a weird pick at 1, and somebody, my guy Chuck got it. Same, Chicago. For me, like I felt that at some point like, where is this going? And where's this going with Connor Bedard? I'm not saying to just sign a bunch of dudes like AJ says. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying to do that, but I'm saying to do something, because at some point your roster is not good enough. And is a guy like Bedard, which again, I'm not sold on yet. I've said it. I'll say it again. I'm not sold on yet. I'm not saying he's a bad player. It's not what I said. But is he going to want, like, who are you giving me? Like, who are you giving me to help out? And I know players or guys like that are supposed to make people better around them. I haven't seen that from Connor Bedard yet. Like you saw that from Crosby. I'm talking about generational first overall picks. And
Yeah.
so I'm not sure. But I just feel that Chicago, I agree with Chuck, like for me was in there because of that reason.
I had Chicago.
But I understand why the Bruins too, because I know, but I can't get myself to put the Bruins down.
So I kept the Bruins out just because I don't think it matters. I think they were just going to be a bad team this year. Anyway,
yeah.
That forward core is David Pastrnak and a bunch of guys. Tanner Jeannot deal, still crazy to me. Like they made some bad deals. They made some choices, but I just don't know that it matters. Their defense is a little bit better put together, I guess. You don't hate their defense. But they just don't have a forward core that makes a ton of sense to me. I mean, I guess if you're a Morgan Geeky believer and that he's going to take another step, maybe you start to believe. But that defense or that forward core is just too thin for me. We saw their struggles last season. I just don't know that them going out and doing anything really moved the needle for me this year. They're just set up where they're set up, hoping that their defense and Jeremy Swayman plays out of their mind and that their forward core can get anything beyond Pastrnak scoring a bajillion points for them. Did they do anything good? No. So fair enough. But
I mean, I like the Morgan Geeky contract, but that's a re-signing of an RFA who's had one really good year. So, yeah, yep. I mean, I just think they went out and they built a bottom six on a team that's not going to contend. But those guys are all working for their jobs.
Yeah.
So that was what you decided. You gave multiple years to Mikey Asimont, Sean Corrali, and Tanner Jeannot, and Henry Yoki Hadiu. Yeah,
I like the way you said it. Yoki Hadiu.
It's bad to me. I just think it's bad.
All right. So it sounds like you both hate the Bruins. Do we want them at 1?
No, I said I couldn't get myself to put the Bruins. That's
but you also said you put them in all caps. So
no, in all caps with no number. You know what I mean? And I was like,
okay. So
I know. I had Chicago. That's why I said I'm looking at Chicago's 1 for me because of the Bedard factor. I don't know where this is going. They didn't do anything. So
who else did you have it to then?
So I got Chicago at 1.
Yeah.
And then I'm just trying to, because I got chicken scratch right now because of trying to keep up with tips list here. So I remember I had Dallas, but we didn't like Dallas.
Oh, that's right. You had Dallas. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have Chicago,
and Edmonton,
and Boston.
Yeah.
Okay. So we could go Edmonton 1.
We could take Boston out if you guys don't have them there, and you guys could put.
I mean, I had Chicago on my list. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. So I wasn't dreaming when I had Chicago. Okay, perfect.
All right. So we'll go Oilers 1, Chicago 2. Even though I would not have Chicago that high, but it is what it is. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in the chat. Columbus. I agree. I mean, there's a lot you can put in there.
Big fans of the Pacific Division, are we? 4 of our 5 spots
teams in the Pacific. And then a Central team. No Eastern Conference anything. All right. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know what I think. As we stated during the winners list, there are a lot more losers than winners so far this offseason. I would put it to you that way. I think there's a lot more room for, if you think these guys had a bad offseason, you could slip them into the top 5. You could go maybe 12 teams deep on that front. So
yeah, exactly.
I think there's a lot more room on that side.
Exactly.
But those are our lists. There you go. You have the winners and losers of the offseason so far. During the show, Dave Hackstall signed as the Avs assistant coach. We are at the end of our show today, so we'll have to talk about that tomorrow. So subscribe, tune in then. But that is all we have for today. We appreciate you all hanging out. You can become a diehard today. Deals going on. Go check it out. Support our stuff. AJ has like 1 million off-season pieces up so far. Highly recommend you read a bunch of them. Go see those.
I'm not writing about Dave Hackstall. I refuse.
We appreciate y'all, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.